Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon. We got a great show in store for you guys today, bringing on my man, Emmet Weinman. Emmet Weinman, as you all know, hosts of the GSMC Fantasy Football Show. Come on with us every week during the football season. And now that the football season is over, we're going to bring him on to talk all things Super Bowl. He's going to give us his take on the game, what this means to Tom Brady, what this means to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs moving forward. And then we're going to have a little mini off-season show. We'll do a couple of these throughout the off-season, so this won't be the last one. But we'll do a little preview of what's going on with Houston, what's going on with the Deshaun Watson situation, J.J. Watt, and then a little QB Carousel to see where QBs are going to land up as we probably head into one of the biggest off seasons the NFL has seen in a long time. So, Emmet, how you doing, man? Welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back, man. Long time.
Yeah, man, long time. It's unfortunate that the football season's over. That's always a bit of a downer or a big downer. But I know you're a big sports guy, so you'll still be watching some sports. But it's definitely not the same without the NFL.
No, it's not even close. It takes like 3 to 4 sports to fill the void. For
sure, without a doubt. It's the good thing is, though, we're going to have a crazy NFL offseason. I mean, I was thinking about it, man. I don't remember, because, usually when it comes to big headline off seasons, that's usually the NBA, because that's the sport where stars actually change teams. It's very rare to see big stars or big-name quarterbacks change teams in the NFL, but it seems like that's for sure going to happen this year, which is going to make it a lot of fun. Like, can you remember an offseason that were like this that we've had ever in the NFL?
No, not even close. And, a lot of these players are speaking up for themselves and, trying to make a stand on what they want. I mean, you got Russell Wilson, too, coming out. We'll talk about that later, saying I'm tired of getting hit in the damn house.
Yeah.
That tackle on the Ravens is out here. He wants to trade. I mean, a lot of these guys are trying to voice their opinion and make a stand and, do what's right for themselves, not what's right for the team. But,
yeah.
The NFL's a business, so they have every right to do that. But,
no doubt.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all. It is NBA-like.
It is, yeah. No, I think, and it's funny because we always hear NFL stars always talking about when we see these NBA guys get paid, they're always like, man, I want NBA money. And it looks like they're taking, like you said, a page out of the NBA playbook, and they're realizing that, hey, they have power too, and they have a lot of power. So that's good for them for stepping up. And we'll discuss it. There's right ways to do it, and there's wrong ways to do it. And I think we'll both share our opinions on how some of these players are doing it. When, like you said, with Russell Wilson and with Deshaun Watson. So we'll get into all that. But dude, we got to start here. It was Super Bowl. The fans know, obviously, we both were on the Chiefs. We both thought the Chiefs were going to win that game, just like pretty much 99% of the population. I mean, I really don't even think a lot of Bucs fans will admit that they thought they were going to win the game, especially not like that, the way that they won that game. Look, there's obvious parts of this, the defensive line, what Todd Bowles did, but just right off the bat, I want to hear your take of why you thought the game went this way. What were you most shocked and impressed about with Tampa Bay?
Well, I think on offense, they They really stayed poised. They didn't have to do much. They ran the clock well. The running game was good. Fournette was really good. I mean, Fournette looked really healthy, and that's something he's not used to. I mean, he was basically a battering ram at LSU and Jacksonville, and, he was barely used on the Bucs. They used Ronald Jones a lot. Mm-hmm. So he was able to get, fresh legs going in the playoffs. What do they call him? Playoff Lenny?
Playoff Lenny, baby.
Yeah, I mean, he was fresh. That's what you saw. Defensively, it was a great game plan for Todd Bowles. He adjusted a lot from that first matchup. I think the first matchup, it was a lot of, blitz, man-on-man. And I think after the first quarter, when Tyreek Hill went for 3,000 yards, he's like, we're never going to do that again. So this time, I think he just rushed his four or five man fronts and put everybody back in coverage in zone. Said, you're not going to beat us with Tyreek Hill over the top. We'll give you Travis Kelce, but we'll give you Travis Kelce for 5-6 yards. We're not going to give him those big gains. Some of the Chiefs receivers also dropped for some passes. I think that kind of went out the window. But the big problem, really, for them was the two tackles, and that's something I didn't really. I felt like that Andy was just going to get the ball out fast. They were going to get moving quick. Short passes to Hill, Pringle, Hardman, those little short slot receivers. But that just didn't happen. I think Andy kind of got back to, the old Andy where he just calls passes every play. He doesn't know how to run the ball. And that's what Todd was telling him, on defense. I think that's what he said with those 4 and 5 man fronts. He said, look, the only way to beat this defense is if you run the ball. And then he didn't run the ball. So that's kind of what, you have with Pat Mahomes running around every play with those two tackles. But, I guess for player-wise on Tampa, you got to give credit to their front, too. I mean, Pierre-Paul, he played really well this playoff stretch. I'm not going to lie. He played really, really well.
Yeah.
Barrett as well. He played well. And those linebackers are fast, man. I didn't really expect that. I mean, that Devin White, he looks like he shot out of a cannon every play.
It's insane.
It was just a really good performance by them. You got to tip your cap.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. And I really think it's interesting that you mentioned Andy Reid because I haven't heard, and maybe I'm just not listening to the right shows or the right talk radio, but I haven't heard as much criticism about Andy Reid. And look, Andy Reid is an awesome coach. He's one of the best coaches ever to coach in the NFL. He's just he's a winner. He finally got Mahomes where he could get over the top. But Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they got completely outcoached. I mean, it's not even close. And it almost felt like a little bit of arrogance on the Chiefs' side where it was like, yeah, I see that we're down 10. I see that we're down 15. But I have Patrick Mahomes. He's been in this situation 100 times, and he will come back. So we're not going to change anything up. And you texted this during the game. We always text during the games, and you said it's going to be. You were like, when they come out after halftime, I expect them to get the ball out of Andy Reid's or Patrick Mahomes' hands quick, which is what you just said again right here. And they didn't do that at all, man. I mean, they came out, they ran the ball right out of it, and it worked. And then next thing you know, they just completely went away from it again. And I get it that they were down, so they felt like they couldn't run the ball as much. Do some screen passes. Do some, like Tom Brady dumped it off. I saw Leonard Fournette had the most catches in a game ever in that Super Bowl because they were just dumping it off to him. That Andy Reid would not let Patrick Mahomes get the ball out. He ran for 500 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, I honestly felt bad for Mahomes because Andy Reid was not willing to change up his game plan. And at the end of the day, maybe if he did, they would have brought it close. But I feel like that's what lost him the game overall.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little stubborn, you could say, but those two tackles were really bad. I mean,
they were awful.
That right tackle, he was just getting beat like a drum. The other guy too, but
yeah,
it's just hard. I mean, any play, because you're basically taking away Tyreek Hill. I mean, you could still use him on in the slot or across the middle on those low dunk offs, or even in the backfield. But by the time he's done with his route, Pat Mahomes has got somebody in his face, and he's running, like you said, 500 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So
yeah. No.
It was just really tough for them to get anything going with that kind of pass rush. And I think Brady said it after the game. There's no way. If he said if I was under that kind of duress, there was no way I would ever win a game. So that's how you beat some of these great. I mean, that's how you beat these great quarterbacks. That's the lesson you learn. Is you got to put pressure in their face. These corners, these safeties, you could say you're going to draft all them, lock them down. doesn't work like that in this league. I don't care. I mean, you could say that, and you're going to blitz the guy. Yeah, they'll figure that out pretty quick, and then you're screwed. I mean, you better have some big, mean D linemen that are just going to go chase the quarterback. It is what it is, and it's always been that way.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's how you beat Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if you take anything from it, and I know most people know this, but the way you win in the NFL, like, look, it's always great to get the shiny toys and the wide receivers and the tight ends, but man, if you can build a legit offensive and if you can beat people up in the trenches, you will go far in the NFL. I mean, it's just that simple. Like Brady, yeah, he had a good game, but he wasn't outstanding. He wasn't like the, oh my God, this is Tom Brady. He just played a normal football game, but he stayed clean, and at the end of the day, his jersey looked like he never even played a down, and Patrick Mahomes' jersey looked like he rolled in mud for an hour. I mean, like, that was the difference right there. He was protected, and honestly, for the way Mahomes was getting rushed, he actually didn't even have that bad of a game. Like, I really don't know if there's another quarterback out there that could have done the things that he was doing under duress like that. That's a whole conversation for itself, but that's how you win in the NFL. Look, when you're Dallas Cowboys, man, when they went 13-3 that year, you guys had the best damn offensive line in the league, and it wasn't even close. Like, when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, all 5 of our offensive lines started every single game, and they were rated number 1 by PFF. Like, that is how you win in the NFL, and it just showed us it again on Sunday.
Yeah, and that Bucs O-line they've been really, really good all year.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of underrated, and I think now they're getting credit. The rookie they picked, the guy's played like every snap.
I know, and he was like the 3rd or 4th O-lineman picked in the draft, too.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank God the Giants didn't get him, but it's crazy. I mean, they've been solid. I mean, Marquette, Smith, some of those guys have been around there for a while. They've all been solid, but they've been able to shore it up this offseason by selecting Wirfs, and then, the D-line's been there. I mean, there are a lot of veteran guys that were just beasts in their heyday, Pierre-Paul, Sue. Barrett's kind of a guy that's come out of the woodworks. I mean, he was on Denver's practice squad for 4 or 5 years. Elway let him go, and then all of a sudden he was 10-sack-a-year rusher for the Bucs. And then I forgot about the lineman they picked in the first round, Vea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not really going to be sacking the quarterback, but he was getting pushed in the pocket.
Yeah.
That's all you need from your D tackle. You just need the quarterback to move around a little bit and let the ends do the work.
Definitely.
But you're right. I mean, it's football. You can have all these receivers. You can have all these corners like the Raiders. But when you're going to get down to the nitty-gritty and you're going to get down to the January games, you're going to win with your front. And that's just what it is. And if you don't have depth in your front, you're not going to go very far.
No doubt. No doubt. And that's the big whole key point of the Chiefs lost 2 guys and they weren't able to make up for it. And that's the big difference, between Gronk and Kelsey as well. Gronk is such a good blocker, man. Like, he was able to, when he wasn't running routes, he was able to help out that offensive line and block for Brady as well. Kelsey is not that great of a blocker, which is different. He's still a great tight end. But when you look at Tom Brady now, because obviously, this is kind of how I put it. The whole argument between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, it's going to be one you have to talk about because that's just what sports radio is. And obviously Tom Brady now has the leg up, by a mile, because he went to a team that, let's just face it, the Bucs were a pathetic organization. I mean, other than the Browns, they barely made the playoffs in like 10 years. They haven't won a playoff game since they won the Super Bowl with Gruden way back in the day. So it's been an embarrassing organization. He goes down there, no offseason, no training camp. I mean, he had to pretty much hide at high school fields to practice with his teammates. And in one season, he leads them to a Super Bowl win. To me, and I made this comparison, and you can call me crazy if you want, but there's only one other athlete in team sports that I can compare him to, and that's LeBron James. Where LeBron James goes, winning goes. Once LeBron James leaves, that team becomes a disaster. And that's what you saw with the Patriots, and I get it. It was a whole different year with the pandemic and opt-outs. They can still change that around. But Brady now put himself in that, like, I am the system, I am the culture, where I go, winning will go. Do you agree with that? And do you think that this kind of diminishes some of Bill Belichick's success?
I mean, I don't really know any coach that was going to win with Cam Newton with the way he was throwing the ball this year, but I don't know, man, because, you know, if Tom Brady were to go to any other team like the Raiders, there's no way they would beat in the Super Bowl. But, I mean, look, the Bucs were a pathetic organization. They had the right pieces to get them.
They did.
Say that. I mean, they had the receivers. Their O-line was decent. They had some tight ends. They had some pieces on defense. They had Todd Bowles in place to run the defense. So they had the right pieces in place to get Brady. They just didn't have the quarterback. And I think with what really Brady brought was just that adult in the room. You know, a lot of these guys, they really idolize Brady. They don't. I mean, that's how old he is at this point. He could be their dad. I mean, it's just true. And you know, a lot of these cities, I think in the South of the United States. I mean, the Atlanta, Tampa, Miami. I mean, you know, it's really hard to get these players to be focused 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because there's other stuff to do. I mean, these guys. I mean, if you're getting paid $10 million a year, $1 million, $2 million.
That's a good point.
You know, and you got all these nightclubs, you got all this partying, you got all this and that. I know it's a pandemic now, but still, I mean, it's not like these guys are not having fun. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, there's stuff to do, and they're going to go find something else to do. They're not going to go put in the extra work if they don't see that they got a chance of winning. And I think Brady, when he got down there, he got everybody on the same page. All these guys got, you know, basically their head in the books. They got straight, and he got them under their wing. He you know, brought that adult figure. And that's similar to what, you know, was in New England. That's why I think that's, you know, New England went on that run because, you know, when your best player, the quarterback, is, you know, doing the most and working your tail off. If you're coming in as a rookie, a draft pick, and you see Tom Brady doing all this, you're like, holy shit, then that means I got to go. Well, I mean, I got to work my tail off to even get close to that. So, you know, that's what Tom really brings beyond just, you know, Tom the player, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's what really shaped that team from all the 7-9 and 5-11 and 6-10 seasons to a Super Bowl champion team. I mean, that was the difference.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt, and he's a leader. That's why you see the team get better as the year goes. That's why there was no panic when they started off bad. They believed in Tom Brady through thick and thin. They followed him, and it ended up paying off. When you look at this Bucs team next year, they've got a lot of free agents. I mean, almost everyone on that front four that you name is pretty much a free agent. I mean, Sue, Barrett, all of the, you know, Chris Godwin's a free agent. They have a lot of work to do if they want to bring back anywhere even similar to the same team. Just, you know, obviously putting all that aside, we can't predict what's going to happen here, but do you see this team being another contender next year? Do you think they'll be right back in the mix with, you know, we'll see who they bring back and everything, but obviously Tom Brady will be there. Mike Evans will be there. Gronk said he's coming back. The O-line will be there. Todd Bowles, they still have him. Brian Leftwich, they didn't lose any of the staff. It's almost like Kansas City. You know, Kansas City won the Super Bowl last year. You never see a team win the Super Bowl and not lose anyone on the coaching staff. Like, it's so rare for that to happen. Same thing's now happening with Tampa Bay. How do you see them moving forward?
Yeah, they're lucky they're going to get Todd Bowles back for another year.
So lucky.
He becomes the head coach next year, or the following year, I should say. But, I mean, to be honest, it'd be really challenging. I mean, you can give him the benefit of the doubt with Brady, but it'd be hard to see you do that again. I mean, that was pretty special. I think, you know, the front, like you said, I mean, if all those guys leave, that's going to be hard to replace because, and, you know, I know they're veterans, but, you know, they were pretty good players in that playoff stretch. So I don't know if they're going to be able to replace that and get the same amount of pressure on defense because, you know, when those guys are getting pressure, those linebackers are running around free. Mm-hmm. And then those corners only have to cover for a few seconds. But it'd be hard to see, to be honest. But I think really if Bruce gets out the way, which he did, I mean, he really got out the way. I mean, I don't think we talk about that enough. I mean, ever since I think I want to say around that, after that Saints game when they just got absolutely blown out. I mean, I think Brady, you saw the offense really shift to more what Brady wants.
Yeah.
It was his offense. So, I mean, I know Leftwich and those guys are the guys, but, I mean, Brady's running the offense, there's no doubt.
No doubt.
So it just him, when you have him on offense, combined with a really good defensive mind like Bowles, it's really going to be a challenge for any team. But for me, it's hard to see them make the same run.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you're right. We do not talk about this enough because that Super Bowl was all Brady's offense. I mean, Mike Evans, 1 catch. Chris Godwin's 2 catch. It was all to Gronk with 6. The running back with 4, Leonard Fournette, and Cameron Brate with 3, and then Antonio Brown had 5 for 22 yards. So it was what Brady loves to do. Throw it to the tight end down the middle, dump it off to the running back, and hit Antonio Brown on short little slant screen passes. Like, that is Brady's offense in a nutshell right there. And you do have to give credit to Bruce Arians because this would not be the stat line if it was Bruce Arians' risk-it-biscuit offense. Like, Brady would have thrown a pick. Like, Mike Evans would have had 8 to 10 targets going down the field. Like, so the fact that they were able to change that up a little bit and Bruce Arians was able to get his ego out of the way, you got to give him credit for that because they were not going to win. They weren't even going to get close to winning if they kept trying to have Brady throw the ball down the field like that. So completely agree. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Chiefs side of things. Where do we go from here? Has Todd Bowles kind of put out an outline of how to slow down or maybe even keep beating Patrick Mahomes? We'll talk all about that right after this. This is the GSMC Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami, joined by Emmet, Weinman, host of the GSMC Fantasy Football Show. Talking all things Super Bowl right now. We're about to get into some offseason talk of where these quarterbacks are going to end up, what this NFL offseason is going to look like. J.J. Watt, Deshaun Watson. A lot of talk there, so we'll get into that in a minute. But we were just talking about, Emmet brought up a great point of how Bruce Arians, he got out of the way. You know, in the beginning of the season, Brady was throwing a lot of interceptions. They were still trying to do the no risk it, no biscuit offense type thing. Bruce Arians got out of the way. Brady did his thing in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, and they ended up raising the trophy, which really was a huge part of that. Also, Todd Bowles and what he did. And you just talked about how, look, Todd Bowles, there's no doubt he's going to be a head coach next year. I mean, if you look at it, man, he won 10 games with the Jets. Like, he won 10 games with the Jets, and look at the Jets now. It's kind of remarkable to think what he did with the Jets and how it kind of is looked down like he had a bad tenure there, but really, it's pretty damn impressive. So whoever gets him next season is going to be very lucky. And it's a huge reason why they won, I think, because Todd Bowles got to watch tape of what happened to them earlier in the season when they played the Bucs, and he was able to learn from that and adapt. I really do not think the game plan would have been the same or the outcome would have been the same if this was the first time that these two teams were playing each other. Do you agree with that? Like, I think that first game was so important to the Bucs.
Oh, absolutely. And then it was, if anything, it was important to Brady. I mean, Brady,
yeah,
I know for a fact that he knew that, like, man, if we're going to go to the big game, we're going to have to play these guys again.
No doubt.
He was probably in the back of his mind, like, okay, this is what we got to do to beat them next time. And he could probably, I mean, Brady's, at this point, he's probably smart enough. He could probably help out Bowles what he needs to do. Granted, Bowles ain't an idiot, so he don't need help. But, I mean, it's they have that knowledge and wisdom to make up for it on the second run. It's hard to beat a team in the NFL 2 times. It's extremely hard to beat a team in the NFL 3 times.
No doubt.
It's when they have your game plan and they know your number, it's going to be challenging, and But yeah, you could talk all day about Todd Bowles. I think I'm always a fan of the defensive coach, just because I think there's so few, and there's so few. I mean, there's really not a lot of great defensive coordinators in the league today, in my opinion. I could find an offensive coordinator anywhere, in my opinion.
Easily.
High school level, college level, pro level. These quarterback coaches can be offensive coordinators. I could find them all over the place. A good defensive mind is just very, very hard to come by. Yeah, that's why I think, Bowles, but I think just the Bowles leadership, you can see that on the defensive side. That's what makes me intrigued about him.
Yeah, no, and
he's a Parcells guy.
Yeah, no, he's a fantastic coach, and just doing the whole head coach thing a second time around, whoever gets him, it's going to be they're going to have him for a long time. I fully believe that. He's a really, really smart coach, and he just seems like a good guy. He seems like the players love him.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, they're going to love to play for him, all that stuff, so that will be interesting. All right, let's look at it from the Chiefs side of things, man. Patrick Mahomes, look, probably the worst game of his NFL career. Actually, it's not probably. It definitely was the worst game of his NFL career. He's played in the NFL for 3 years now. This was the first time he's even lost a game by more than one possession, which is insane. Are you at all worried about Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team moving forward?
Not really, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just because they're going to get the same crew back. If their O-line's healthy, they'll probably be back to throwing up 35 points a game. They better get the O-line fixed, though.
Yeah.
I think especially the tackle position. I mean, Eric Fisher, look, he was number 1 pick. But I think those days are kind of gone. I mean, we're almost 10 years on him being the number 1 pick, so I think it's time to get a replacement. And then that right tackle, Schwartz, I mean, he's aging too, so you probably want to shore up that position. But as long as we keep the O-line intact, I mean, everybody else can be back. Hill, Kelsey, Hardman, those guys. So they should be okay. I mean, I think they're going to lose Watkins, but I'm not really, I mean, that's not something I'd be worried about.
Yeah, me either.
So as long as Mahomes, Reed, and the O-line is intact, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not worried about it at all. They still have all their coaching staff coming back. They still have pretty much everyone on the defense coming back. Tyrann Mathieu will be back. They will be fine. I don't have an issue with them at all. There's that whole talk of, did Todd Bowles kind of put out a format of how to beat him? And all I say to that is, yeah, if you're able to have a front four like the Bucs have, and linebackers like the Bucs have, but not every team is walking around with those type of skill position players. Like Todd Bowles put them in the best position to win, but those players still had to execute. And at the end of the day, the Chiefs still dropped 2 touchdown passes and some huge third downs when the game was still in reach. So with all that being said, I'm not worried about the Chiefs at all. And when it comes to that whole game plan, is there another team in the league that really has that type of front four with those type of linebackers that is just going to be able to play Patrick Mahomes like that? No, there's not, right? Like, you don't see another team out there. I mean, obviously, it's the NFL. Things can come out of nowhere. But if I had to put my money on it, I would put money that the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go against that. I mean, with the cohesion they have together, I mean, 3 Super Bowls in 3 years would be pretty darn impressive, though. I'll just say that. I mean, I think that hasn't happened in a long time.
No.
I think, who were the Bills the last time to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, the Bills when they lost 4 in a row. That's right.
Yeah, I mean that's it's hard to do in this league, man. The teams will catch up to you. They catch up to your game, but teams don't have Patrick Mahomes. He's a little bit different. But I think that definitely the game plan to beat them. I think I told you Carolina figured it out earlier in the year. They just didn't really have the talent to do it. But they figured it out. I mean, they got within 1 point, and you just got to you got to run. You got to you got to score slow, if that makes sense. You basically, which running essentially is helping out a lot, but short passes, just keep the chains moving, keep the clock moving, run it down, and don't miss on third down. You got to convert your third downs. But if you do that on offense and on defense, you're able to pressure. You got a really good shot of beating Mahomes. That's the only way to beat him. You got to keep him off the field, and when he's on the field, you got to chase after him, make him run backwards, and make him just start doing wacky improvisation, which is kind of what he was doing. Because he was running all over the place. His mind wasn't right. So if you do that to any quarterback, you'll get him in trouble. But I think with Mahomes and how he's so used to just making it up on the fly, to where if you get him running around like they did, you're going to have a pretty good shot. But it's hard to do. It's easier said than done. No
doubt about that. And also, when you just look at it in the AFC landscape, which will kind of switch over to the NFL offseason here now, you look at it and you say, okay, who in the AFC is going to challenge the Chiefs? All right, the one quarterback that actually has beaten Mahomes is Deshaun Watson, and he wants out of Houston. And even if he stayed in Houston, Houston does not have a team that is going to be able to compete at any time soon, even as great as Deshaun Watson is. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes has Lamar's number. Lamar hasn't been able to beat him yet. The Steelers, Big Ben, he's much older, and who knows what's going to happen there. There's a lot of the Cleveland Browns, they're on the come up, but they're still the Browns. You got to see how things move there. There's a lot of teams in the AFC that just kind of have a question mark. The Dolphins are very intriguing to me, but we don't know what Tua has. So when you look at Deshaun Watson, man, I know you told me the other day, and I'm going to let you say this. You said something very interesting about your thoughts on him. And so I want you to tell us why you think what you think, and do you see that changing? What are your thoughts on this whole Deshaun Watson situation, and do you think he's leaving?
I think, as the days go on, he probably wants to leave. I think he made it clear he's not unhappy, but, at the same time, it's kind of childish, some of the things he's doing. He's totally quiet. A lot of this is all speculation. Oh, Deshaun doesn't like this. Oh, Deshaun don't like that. Deshaun never really said he doesn't like that. He's kind of just, he's basically in Cabo laying up on getting a suntan. And we're all assuming, oh, he like this, he don't like that. But it's understandable. That's obviously the culture's broken there. My belief has been broken ever since that Hopkins trade. I think he wants to leave, but he's probably not going to leave because, number one, I don't think Cesario, their new general manager, is just going to ship him off for a bag of chips. That's just not going to happen. He's too good for that. No matter how unhappy he is, I'll take an unhappy Deshaun Watson over at least 80% of the quarterbacks in this league. He's just that type of player.
No doubt.
And he's young. This is going to be his 5th year in the league. Come on. The guy's not even 30 years old yet. You got to take that. There's two teams that were going crazy for Tom Brady. He's 42 years old, so you had to take a young Watson. But again, it's just too many variables for him to get traded. Number one, he just signed a contract, right? And I think that's kind of getting looked over. Number two, he has a no-trade clause, which, it doesn't really mean I think a lot of people kind of misconceive that. They think, Deshaun's he tells the GM where to trade him. No, that's not the case. The GM can trade him to a team, and then if Deshaun wants to, they'll call Deshaun's agent and he say, hey, we're going to trade you here.
Say no.
Fine or no. Then he can reject or accept. That's how it works. But again, that's a whole process in itself. Then you got to factor in what are they going to get in return. Because they're not going to trade him for 2 number ones like some of these teams are saying. Oh, they're going to trade him. That's that rumor in the beginning, they're going to give him for Tua and 2 number ones. No, they're not. That's not happening. I mean, I don't think even 3 number ones are going to get it done. So you're telling me the team's going to give him 4 number ones? I mean, heck, that'd be a blockbuster deal, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, that's just too much draft capital. But I mean, it's just too many variables, I should say, for a trade like that to happen. As much as the media kind of wants it to happen for Deshaun Watson, and for his sake, Houston's, this terrible toxic place, get him out of there, get him on a real team, get him on the Jets. I've been hearing all these Jets fans around here, we're going to get Deshaun Watson. It's crazy, but to me, it just seems like it's too hard for 2 general managers to come to an agreement on a deal, and then for Watson to agree to that deal because of his contract. So it's a lot of factors involved.
Yeah, so this is my thing. So I actually disagree with you. I don't think he is coming at this with a childish approach. I think the other quarterback that we're about to talk about, Russell Wilson, is coming at it with an awful childish approach, which we'll get into it. I think Deshaun Watson has every right to do what he's doing because all this organization has done is stabbed him in the back since day one almost, okay? So you look at it, they trade away, it's DeAndre Hopkins. They trade away his college roommate, his college teammate, and his best friend. It's all 3 of those. They went to college together, they roomed together, and they were literally best friends off the field. So then you factor in that DeAndre Hopkins also is one of the greatest receivers in the NFL right now. So you factor all that in, you trade him out, because the coach had some issues that he was bringing his baby mamas around? I mean, that's literally what the report was. So now we could blame that on Bill O'Brien and not the Houston organization, but at the end of the day, the Houston organization signed off to let that happen. So that's the first thing. And then even after they did that, Deshaun Watson came out and said, I understand this is a business. I'm not even mad about it. Like, he said that. He was totally fine with it. He went out and played this season without complaining once. He didn't complain the entire season. All he did was lead the league in passing yards when throwing to guys like Brandon Cooks, who, don't get me wrong, he's a good receiver, but he's on his 5th team right now. So he does that. He plays stellar. He doesn't complain the whole season. And then the owner comes up to him. He doesn't go up to the owner. He doesn't come out and cry and moan about how he wants this like Russell Wilson's doing. No, the owner comes up to him and says, Watson, you're our best player. You're our future. I want you to be involved in the process of hiring our next head coach and GM. Watson says, that's great. I mean, these are facts. Adam Schefter put this story out. Says, that's great. I would love to be. He gives them a list of people that he would like them to interview. He doesn't tell them to hire these guys. He just says to interview them. They don't interview one single person on that list. Not even that. They're the only team to not interview Eric Bieniemy. So then Watson comes out and says, you thought I was, and he tweeted this, so we know he was mad. He said, I was only 2 mad when you traded to DeAndre. Now I'm 10 mad because of what they did. For the only team to do that. So then they try and make it right, and they go interview Bieniemy and all this stuff after the fact. They bring in this dude, who's like a cult level type person, whatever his name is. I'm spacing on his name right now, but everyone's ragging on him. And it's just all chaos, dude. There's no reason why Deshaun Watson should waste any more time there. And if I'm Deshaun Watson, I am 1,000% taking it to the next level of sitting out. There's no way I'm walking back in that organization. I'm putting my money on the line. I am willing to take all the fines to get out of there. And to bring up teams like the Jets have been awful for, I can't even count how long it's been. They would be stupid to not trade up 4 first-round picks right now for Deshaun Watson. That they know they finally get a quarterback. These teams that have been terrible like the Jets, why would you not do that? And you're right. Why would the Texans do it for 2 firsts and a Tua? That's dumb. Why would they even do it for 3? But if you're offering 4 first-round picks for a team that, the Texans have so many holes on their roster right now, that would put them in situation to actually build their team the right way moving forward. I think what Deshaun Watson is doing right, and to be honest, I would go far enough to say that he's not even going hard enough, that he's honestly being low-key about it because he's that good of a guy. He's just like Dak Prescott to me in terms of his charisma. He's laying low about it. He let us know his frustrations. He told us exactly why he's frustrated. And it makes all the sense in the world. He should never walk back in that organization again. And if it costs him losing money until he gets traded, so be it. I would do it. And I don't think anybody should criticize him over it.
Yeah, I just heard something a little bit because it's like, dude, you signed that contract. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah, but dude, things change though, man. I mean, think about it. He signed that contract. He didn't know that the organization was going to go chaotic on them right after that. Like, he didn't know that they were going to then go and hire Nick Caserio, and then he didn't know that they were going to let the owner make all these moves where he has no idea what he's doing. I mean, how could he have predicted? The guy never had a big contract before. They throw this much money in front of him. What is he going to do? Say no? I don't want to accept $140 million? Like, that's tough to do. You need that kind of money when you're growing up in the NFL and you don't have that type of money. So he gets his first big contract, and then they pull all these moves around him. Like, eventually it piles up. And it's not like they did one bad thing and Deshaun Watson said, oh, hell no, I'm out now. No, they said he let it build up, and to the point where he said, what the hell am I doing here? You guys are wasting my time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just bad timing maybe with the contract, just because, maybe if it was 1 year later, he would have maybe been able to not sign the deal and be a free agent and then go sign somewhere else. Maybe that could have happened, but it's messy, man. It's really messy. I understand why he's mad. It's not like I'm trying to defend the Texans organization. I mean, that they've been a mess. I understand. That's a good point you made about the GM hiring, coaching hiring. I forgot about that. They also brought in that firm that was total baloney.
Yeah, that was so dumb.
Yeah, so it's really messy with them. I just don't know where they go from here. I think, if you're Deshaun, I don't think there's any way he sits out. I mean, that's just too much money. You're leaving like $2 million a game on the table. I mean, if you're going to be that bold and leave 30 mil or 35 mil on the table like that, that's bold, man. I mean, go ahead. I don't think anybody could do that. I mean, that's just too much red. Even though they're bad, even though they're trash, even though their coach is a 65-year-old assistant coach or whatever. I mean, you're just going to put your hard hat on and take that dough, man, and you're going to be perceived as the good guy, and the guys up top are going to be perceived as the bad guy, and then hopefully you could use that to your advantage. But that contract is going to make it really, really hard for him to move. Just because a lot of these teams don't have cap room. Let's be real about it. A lot of these teams, because the cap didn't really expand this year. Usually it goes up, up, up. This year it kind of stayed the same. A lot of people were expecting a decrease, but I think it stayed the same just because there wasn't really a lot of revenue made from, all these fans not being at the stadium and all that. But, I think if he was on a rookie deal or if he was able to just sign as a free agent, he'd be out of there instantly. But, that contract is it's going to make it tough for a trade to happen.
Yeah, no, the contract is something that's going to make it tough. But at the end of the day, I mean, these are NFL organizations. If the Texans get an offer that they want, they will trade him. And the Jets, the Dolphins, all these teams have cap space where they could make it work. Now, obviously, a lot of teams are calling for him, but will the Texans pull the trigger? I mean, the Nick Caserio is saying we're not going to trade him for anything. I mean, there was a report out there that a team did already offer them 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and the Houston Texans supposedly hung up the phone. They didn't even blink an eye about it. So if it's getting to that point where they're not even going to listen to anyone, then it's going to take Deshaun Watson sitting out. And then that becomes your point of, will he really do that? Because I do think you're right. I do think that the Texans are going to do everything in their power to try and fix this and make this right. I just think I don't see any appeal to going back there because even if they, not even on the relationship standpoint and how they've gone behind his back and done all this stuff, but when you just look at the team, man, I mean, how is he going to win? I mean, they don't have a first-round pick this year. They don't have an offensive line. He's getting hit more than any other quarterback out there. No defensive line. You're right, no defensive line. No good defensive players in general. I mean, Brandon Cook and Will Fuller. Will Fuller's a free agent. Who knows if they even sign him back? The team itself is such a mess that it truly would be wasting a lot of Deshaun Watson's career. And when you look at it, a team that was 2 years ago up 24-0 on the Chiefs in the playoff, in the divisional round of the playoffs, and now they've gotten themselves to this point in the matter of a year and a half, which is just mind-boggling to me. But we're going to take a quick break. We have a lot to... And Jack Easterby was the executive's name, by the way, that I was blanking. He's that guy who, like...
Oh, the pastor.
Yeah, the pastor, dude. And people are saying, like, literally, people are reporting, like, legit reporters are saying that, like, if you don't have Jesus and your religion, like, at the top of your resume, you're getting canned. And it's why a lot of these people are either resigning or... I mean, the Texans' longtime president resigned the other day. And it was strictly because he does not want his name tied to the mess that is going on there. He pretty much says it's that whole analogy where when you see a fire coming, you get out as fast as you can because you don't want to be involved in that fire. And he was smart enough to realize that that's what's happening.
Yeah, he probably had a fire extinguisher in his hand.
Yeah.
He got out of it.
You're right.
It's crazy, man. I mean, if that's true, or that you're saying if he's firing people because they're not religious or their religion isn't at the top, I methat that's insanity.
Insane, man. It's insane, and that's literally what the reporting is from the New York Times. Reported this. The guy that works down, a beat writer for the team. I'll look up his name in a second when we go to take this break. And then Adam Schefter reported as well that he's a pastor, and he somehow went from being a pastor to the vice president of their football operations. Like, how does that make sense? Like, how do you get, like, bro, what did you do? Let me know, because I want to become that title. Like, you clearly don't have any football experience, so congrats to you.
He's got the Patriots stamp of approval on him too.
Oh, there you go.
That'd be his way to get in the door. I don't know how he gets up. I mean, because on the Patriots, it just seemed like he was the guy that talked to the players, to keep their minds right. He wasn't making any decisions whatsoever. Now he's making decisions. I mean, that's just not. I don't know, man.
I don't get it either. So we'll take a quick break. We'll get right back into this, and then we're also going to talk the Russell Wilson situation. Two same situations, but I think completely different. I want to get Emmett's thoughts on that, and then I want to start having a little bit of fun here. And if these quarterbacks were to leave, we're going to play a little game of where do we want to see them go. Not where we think they'll go, where do we think the best fit will be for them. And then, got to talk to Emmet about his beloved Cowboys. Got to talk to him about the Cowboys. We'll be right back after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, GSMC Football Podcast. Your host, Kayvon here, alongside my guy, Emmet Weinman, host of the GSMC Fantasy Football Show. Emmet, what a day, man. What a week. We are now into the offseason. We talked about the Super Bowl here. We both were on the Chiefs. We admitted it. We were wrong, just like 90% of the world. And now we're talking about what's going on with Houston. Deshaun Watson clearly wants out. But you made up a great point of it's a lot harder than a lot of people perceive it, right? It's not where it's just like, hey, snap your fingers, Watson, and you're going to get to go there. It's going to take Watson willing to sit out? Will Watson pull the Zeke Elliott Cabo? And that's a lot. Will he go to Cabo and chill and miss training camp, miss maybe the preseason, and maybe even miss, like, it's going to be a game of chicken. And at the end of the day, you don't think that he'll do that, right? You think there's too much money on the line, and you don't think he's willing to start missing that type of dough, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Zeke, he was on a rookie deal at 3 years in, so that's why he kind of had to be an asshole to get his money. But then, yeah, there's no way. I just don't see there's a way. I mean, you're leaving. I mean, if you're just look at it from a human job perspective, forget the football, forget all that. I mean, are you going to miss work if you're making $2 million a week? I don't think so.
No way. No way. And it's going to be interesting because we look at it that way. But Deshaun Watson, at the end of the day, he does have a lot of money in the bank already, and he does have sponsorships and ads and all that stuff where he's making money too. So could he say, man, I hate this situation so damn much that, you know what, I'm willing to cough up $200,000 a week, or no, like probably like $200,000 a day to sit out until I can get traded. And then the other side of it is, will the Houston Texans actually be able to stretch it that far? Like, will they really be able to sit there and say, okay, our star quarterback is not showing up to training camp. Okay, dang, he really isn't showing. Like, training camp's going by now. He's still not showing up. Like, are they going to panic then and say, bang, like, let's trade him? Because another thing is, man, they hired a head coach where it was not one of Deshaun Watson's options, and that doesn't mean much. Again, he never told the organization, you must hire this guy. He just said, these are some of the people I'd like you to interview. They never interviewed any of them. But with all that being aside, I want to switch it over now to the Russell Wilson side of things. Actually, no, wait, before we go to that, just since we're still, I want you to give your take on J.J. Watt. We both talked before the show. We both thought this was happening. We really don't see it being a shock, as some people do. We thought this was, like, why would JJ go back? But how do you see JJ Watt, this whole situation? Do you think it's another failure on the Houston's part of side of things, or do you think it was just kind of time to let him go and check out another team?
Well, I think, JJ's a smart player. He probably knew he was going to get cut, and the reason is because the Houston Texans owed him, I think, they owed him almost $20 million with that big, remember that big mega deal he signed, that 6-year deal?
That's right.
That was a while ago by now, but, he owed him like $18-19 million, and he knew he wasn't even playing close to that standard. I mean, JJ Watt at this point in his career just isn't a 60 down, 65 down defensive end who's a game wrecker. He's going to run all, remember that guy on Hard Knocks that's whacking the pads, just tossing the tire around, and he's an absolute freak. That guy's not there anymore. And it's kind of sad to say, because he really was a tremendous player in his heyday, but he's still a good player. He's still, if you could put him on third down, he'd be still an outstanding player. He just needs limited rep. And I think he, before the March offseason really started, I think he went to the Texans and asked for his release, like you said in that video on Twitter, just to, I'm not going to lie to you, it kind of feels like it to make himself feel a little bit better, to make himself look good. So
it's a good point.
The Texans cut him, if you know what I'm saying.
No, that's actually a really interesting way to look at it, and I kind of agree, and I almost would say that maybe the Texans were probably in on it. They probably said, look, you've done so much for this, not just this organization, this city, we'll kind of let you go out your way, right? Like, we'll kind of let you do it this way and let the fans think that, you kind of want it out and all that stuff. The interesting thing to me, though, and this is, we're ragging on the Texans a lot, and rightfully so. Seriously, rightfully so. They have been atrocious. They have been the worst organization I've seen in a long time. So we're ragging on them with that. But also, when you look at it in terms of, do you think that they could have traded him? Like, don't you think they maybe could have gotten a third or maybe even a second round pick for JJ Watt by someone? Or do you think that they were saying, you know what, we're going to do JJ a favor and let him pick his team and kind of let him go?
No, there's no way they would have gotten. I mean, there's actually, I saw just headlines that, they got calls. I mean, yeah, maybe for a late competent, but I mean, there's two factors. Number one, he's on that contract, so I don't think a team was going to pay him almost $20 million. And then number two, he's not a starter anymore. He's just not. He's a great backup, a great locker room guy. I mean, that's what you're getting with J.J. Watt at this point of his career. You're not getting that defensive player of the year. He's just not anywhere close to that. And it reflected in the Texans' defense. I think the Texans played this year like J.J. Watt was still that guy. Mm-hmm. And you saw him get absolutely creamed. He's just not. I mean, when that fourth quarter is rolling around, remember that Titans game when Derrick Henry in that fourth quarter?
Yeah.
I mean, the Texans' D-line, it's like they weren't even there, it looked like. I mean, Derrick Henry's just running all over them. And then it's at this point, it's just really hard to see him being that same player. And I think that's why, and JJ knows it too. He knows he's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why he did the math. He's not an idiot. He saw, okay, I'm getting paid X amount of dollars. This new general manager came in. He's going to look at my performance last year and look at my salary and say goodbye. So why don't I go here? I'll ask for my release, which he did. And they're obviously going to grant it because they see the numbers. They see it's favorable for them as well, so they'll move on. And then I can go to Twitter and just say, hey, I asked for my release. The Twitter fans like us, we're going to say, oh, of course he did. The Texans are a mess. They stink. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a good perception for him. And then he'll move on with his life, and the Texans will go on with theirs.
So
that's how it works.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of laying it out there. So where do you think JJ should go? Because he's going to have a lot of suitors. Because like you said, he is a terrific backup. I mean, he really is, especially if he goes to a team that already has a stud front where he can just rotate in, or he doesn't have to be double teamed. Because another thing is, he was on a team where their defensive line was so bad, he was still getting the full attention, which he's not going to do much at that time. If he goes to a team where he can be lined up with someone that's not as, that already has to pay a lot of attention to that defensive line, he could go all out. Like, he could really start to, show maybe a little bit of an old school version of J.J. Watt. He's not going to be ever what he was when he was the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, but where do you line up? A lot of people say go play with the Steelers. I think the Ravens would actually be a really good fit for him. They're really good at taking older defensive linemen and turning them into a good player again, or bringing their talents back up for a while. So where do you think the best fit for him is? Name out a couple teams you'd like to see him go to.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 3-4 end, so I think the Ravens it's a really good fit because they have Calais Campbell too. I mean, you put those two on the same line. I know they're older now, but still, you could rotate those guys. They have another Brandon Williams at D-tackle. That'd be a nice 3. Maybe draft another edge rusher to go with Judon. Your corners are good with Jimmy Smith and Humphrey, and safeties are decent. I mean, that'd be a nice defense.
I agree, man.
J.J. Watt there, and you could put him on a part-time schedule. I shouldn't say schedule, but part-time reps, if you know what I mean. So get him on the 30-40 reps, 30-40 plays a game type deal. Steelers is going to be the obvious connection because of his brother. I could see that being a fit too. But the Steelers at the same time, their cap space is very, very limited.
Yeah.
They've been getting paid $40 million next year. Unless if JJ wants a cheap contract to go play with his brother, maybe, but that'd be kind of hard to do. Just skimming around the league, I'm trying to think of, maybe guys that he played with in the past that he'd want to go reunite with. But a lot of his former D coordinators like Wade and Romeo, they're kind of out of the game. So I don't know, but I think the Ravens, that's a really good team. I didn't even think about that. I think that'd be a great fit. But
yeah,
he's trying to go win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Ravens can't, but if I got to be honest with you, what do you see with Lamar? Is Lamar going to be that guy that's going to beat Mahomes, beat Brady, get over the hump?
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to hate on it, but I'm just saying when the playoffs come, you got to make your plays. Is he that guy? But from
no doubt,
Watt's perspective as a defensive guy,
no doubt.
Go to Don Martindale, who's a great coordinator. We've been saying that for a while. And that system, that'd be a great fit.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think of anybody else that'd be better.
Yeah, exactly. Because to give your guy a huge shout out here, J.J. Watt, when he was doing his thing at his top of his game, he had Wade Phillips as his D coordinator, and Wade Phillips was making him, he was always so good. He did this with Aaron Donald too, when he's so good at finding ways of getting Aaron Donald and J.J. Watt one-on-one. You know, he's so good at making sure his best defensive lineman is able to get one-on-one with that offensive lineman, so he's not double teamed. That's something he did. You kind of go to that Ravens system, who they kind of play that exact same way. I would love that. Another very intriguing place, and he would have to take like pretty much the vet minimum for this, because talk about salary cap, they are just screwed. But what if he went and played with Aaron Donald and the Rams?
Yeah, that'd also be interesting. Have Aaron Donald and J.J. Watt on the same
right.
team. You told me that 5 years ago, I'd be what? But I mean, that'd definitely be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, that's again better minimum. I mean, look, you know, I know a lot of these guys are, you know, they try to make their perception. Oh, we give back. Oh, we're this and that. And I'm not calling them selfish by any means. Go make your money. You're risking your life playing this game. You need to make every dollar you can.
For sure.
I'm not saying that at all. So a lot of I know a lot of these guys were giving back. I know J.J. Watt's a great guy, but he's going to want to make money.
Yeah.
Let's not get anything. I mean, these guys. I think it's just more of a media thing. This idea that, you know, this player is going to take a pay cut because he's at the end of his career. No, he's not. If anything, he's going to want the most because that's his last contract, his last income.
Yeah.
But maybe even the rest of his life. I mean, I'm sure Watt's got other business ventures and stuff like that going on where it's probably not his last income, but his last, you know, 7-figure income, probably. So
no doubt.
You know, it's always something to consider.
No, you're spot on, man. It's such a good point, and that is a team that is all in right now to win. So you're right, man. Like, look, I'm all about making money, but a lot of these people are always talking about, I want to go to the best place and win. Well, hey, you have it right in front of you now. Take a little bit of less money, go do that, because we're going to see a lot of players want to go play with the Rams, because that is a team that's all in. I want to talk, because we're moving our way over to the West Coast now, where I want to get into Russell Wilson, but I wanted to now just kind of talk about this, since me and you haven't been able to talk about this together on air here. I want to hear your thoughts about that deal, man. Look, it's no secret. Anybody that's been listening to this show, they know you're not a big Jared Goff guy, and I'm right there with you. Look, I mean, it's true, man. You've said many times on this show, if the Rams have a legit quarterback, we're talking about a real Super Bowl team here, because Jared Goff was holding them back. Now, I think that Jared Goff was definitely a hinder to them. I don't think that he was as bad as McVay and the organization was trying to make him seem out to be. This is my thoughts on this thing, and then I want to hear yours. All the pressure is now on McVay, because what they did was the opposite of what the Eagles did. The Rams said this: we're backing our head coach, we're not backing our quarterback. The Eagles said, we're backing our quarterback, even though that's still not going to work out. We're not backing the head coach. Yeah. So now McVay pretty much said, this is as far as I can go with Jared Goff. I can't go any farther with him. So I need someone else in here now. So now he got who he wanted. He got Matthew Stafford, who I like Matthew Stafford. I think he's been in a bad situation. I think he can ball. But this is on McVay now. All the pressure is on McVay to win now and to show up. What are your thoughts on this whole trade?
Yeah, I mean, Stafford's going to bring toughness. I think that's a lot of, that's a big difference between him and Jared Goff. I don't believe in Jared Goff's toughness one bit, mentally and physically. Mm-hmm. And I think, when Stafford gets hit, he's going to get back up, even though,
no doubt.
At the point of his career, I worry about his health a lot, but, Stafford's going to shake off a hit. I mean, on Jared Goff, you could literally tell when he gets hit on the first few plays of the game, it rattles him, and it changes his whole game, and it changes McVay's game plan, which is why he's sick and tired of Goff, because he's having to do passes that are basically confidence builders, these little one-read play-action boots. I mean, that gets you 3-4 yards, but that's just confidence building. That's not really a real offense. That's just that's kind of like college. I mean, it's not real. It's not pro. Stafford, I mean, he's, a gunslinger, so I think McVay's going to want to stretch the field. I think they got the receiver. I mean, a lot of those receivers are, slot guys, so they kind of work well with that play action boot because they were shifty. They were good in between 1 to 15 yards. But Stafford's going to want to air it out. He's going to want some big guys. I think that Reynolds kid, I mean, he's a little underrated in my opinion. Maybe he gets going under Stafford. Yeah. But McVay's going to want that pressure, man. I mean, I know he's, dubbed the boy wonder, the quarterback genius. I mean, look, as long as Stafford stays healthy, I think he's going to be fine. I mean, I
agree.
think he's going to be able to run his offense. You're not going to have to do any silly confidence building plays for Stafford. You can just go right into your game plan, go right what you want. I really worry about Stafford's health. And I mean, it's just something that, I mean, these last few years, I mean, look, I love Stafford. I mean, when I saw him and coming out for the draft, I mean, I was a kid, but I'm like, God damn, I haven't seen a quarterback throw the ball. And, you know, I don't know if we're getting that same player. We're still getting flashes of that same player, but I don't think we're going to get the same player 100% just because I think Detroit kind of took it all out of him. But it'll be interesting because, you know, Stafford's really never had a coach like McVay to bring the best out of him mentally. So
he's never had a defense either.
No, and it's going to be something that's going to be nice to watch for those two.
Yeah.
As for the Lions, though, I mean, look, it's kind of funny because, you know, you're Dan Campbell. You know, we never talked about his press conference. I mean, it's funny. He's going to knock somebody out. He's basically, to say it's all the mumbo-jumbo, he's saying we're going to be the toughest team in the league.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, Detroit, blue-collar city, Motor City, right? You're known for your toughness. It's cold. Even though they're playing the Dome, it's cold, right? You're going to go on the road to Green Bay and Chicago. You want to knock them in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of hard to do that if your quarterback's Jared Goff.
No doubt. No doubt.
So, at least they got the two number ones. I think, you know, the reason they got that extra one was because they had to take on Goff's contract.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not really 2 ones for Stafford. It's a 1 for Stafford, and then, hey, I'll give you this. And I think that's how Jared Goff is. This guy's so freaking bad. I'll give you a 1.
Yeah.
Just get him off my damn team.
No, that's exactly what it was. You're spot on.
The Lions are there. They got a lot of holes, so they said, okay, we'll do that. You know, we're just going to. I mean, Dan's on a 6-year deal, so this year's a throwaway year. They're basically just going to throw Goff out there. They better draft a quarterback this year or next year and get that guy going because Jared Goff's no way going to be the long-term solution up there.
Yeah.
So it'll be a throwaway year for the Lions. They'll probably be picking high next year with Jared Goff's their quarterback and no defense. And the Rams, they're going all in. I mean, they believe they're a quarterback away. And heck, I mean, if Stafford stays healthy, it's going to be a fun team to watch. But he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, I love everything you said. I completely agree with that. I'm actually really happy for Stafford, man, because I'm with you. I've been a huge Matt Stafford fan. I think he's always just been on an okay team. He's never had a great team. He had Calvin Johnson, which was awesome, but they never had a defense. Like, he is finally going to a team where you can 100% say the coach is good, you can say that the GM knows how to pick players, and you can say that the defense is going to be good. He hasn't had that yet, which is going to be awesome, but you do worry about the injuries, and if he does get injured, I mean, what is their backup? You know, what's their backup plan? Because they are all in to win now. And then when it comes to and I think they can win. I agree. The pressure's on McVay, but he's going to take that pressure, and he's going to do everything he can to get them back to that Super Bowl. When it comes to the Lions and Dan Campbell, the Lions clearly wanted to go the Mike Vrabel route. Look, they wanted to go the tough guy, the kind of opposite of the way the league is trending, but we want this guy that's just going to be the leader for our locker room. He's going to be a tough guy. He's not going to show any BS like the other coach they had, who is just a complete fraud, Matt Patricia, with his stupid little pencil behind his ear and all that stuff. He finally ran back home to Bill Belichick over there because he never should have got a head coaching job in the first place. So they wanted to go the opposite route, a guy that's going to show his emotions, all that stuff, and I get that. But with that being said, you're still going to have to eventually win football games, and you're not going to do it with Jared Goff. You heard that they got the Panthers offered them the number 8 overall pick this year for Stafford, right?
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, so would you have taken that over the 2 first-round picks, or would you have taken the 2 first-round picks since they had so many holes?
Yeah, I mean, you got holes. You need,
yeah.
I mean, and you're not winning this year at all. So you need to take your 2 1s and then just hope that, you know, they're high picks and you can rebuild your team.
Yeah. No,
I mean, taking Jared Goff's going to limit your cap space, but again, this is a complete throwaway year for the Lions. Just take your picks, rebuild your team.
I agree, and I mean, Jared Goff, you know, he came out and said he's glad he's going somewhere where he's wanted, and now he can show what he can do. I mean, best of luck to you, man, but it's going to be very hard to show that you can do anything. Look, they're going to lose Kenny Golladay. They're most likely going to lose Marvin Jones. I mean, that team is going to be in the running for the first overall pick with Houston if Houston ends up getting rid of Deshaun Watson. There is no doubt about that. So I completely agree with both sides of what you said there. It's going to be fascinating to watch LA, and it's also going to be fascinating to watch who they play twice a year, which is Russell Wilson. We're going to take a quick break here, and then I promise we're now going to open up the fourth segment here, all about Russell Wilson. I want to hear his thoughts, Emmet Weinman's thoughts on that situation, and does he actually see anything happening from there? We'll be right back after this.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the GSMC Football Podcast as we enter segment number 4, quarter number 4, alongside my guy, Emmet Weinman. Emmet, all right, we talked about a ton of things here so far. I want to change gears to this Seattle situation with Russell Wilson, which has kind of come out of nowhere, but also Russell Wilson has kind of hinted a little bit throughout the years, but now he finally just came out and said it. He said he's unhappy. He said he wants to be more involved in the organization. And then this is where I have a problem, and this is where I differ his situation from Watson's. So Deshaun Watson, he came out and he went right at the organization. He said, I'm angry at the organization. I'm mad that they came up to me and asked me my opinion of things and then just completely ignored it. I didn't go up to them. They came up to me. He went all at the organization. Russell Wilson went at his teammates. Russell Wilson said, I get hit too much. I don't have good blocking. Like, these are direct quotes he said. He is calling out his offensive linemen. He's saying, we're not doing well enough on defense. Oh, and some of this is my fault too, but we got to do better. We got to draft better. We got to bring better players in to protect me. Like, these are things that Russell Wilson is saying on a live radio show with Dan Patrick. He is now coming at his teammates, not just the organization, not just Pete Carroll and John Schneider and these guys. Watson strictly made it about the owner, Jack Easterby, the situations that they're making and all that stuff. He never once went after his players when he really is getting beat up. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but 2 years ago, Watson couldn't even fly on the team plane. He had to get taken in a bus when they traveled because they were so worried about his ribs going that high up in air quality. Like, he was getting hit that bad. But he didn't come at his players. He came at the organization. Russell Wilson is doing this out of nowhere, and he's hitting on everyone, man. I have a problem with that. What are your thoughts about how Russell Wilson's going about this and that whole situation with Seattle?
Yeah, I looked at it more from an organizational hit with Russell, but I can understand if I'm, an offensive lineman for the Seahawks and I open Twitter and my quarterback's telling me we're not blocking well. I mean, yeah, I'd be pissed. But
yeah.
I mean, look, I think Schneider, he's calling Schneider out. As great of an executive as I think John Schneider is, let's not lie. His past 4 or 5 drafts have just been bust. Straight up bust.
It's so true.
He drafted, his first round pick's been horrible. That tackle they drafted in the first round from Tech a few years ago has been nothing. And, you could see that, Russell Wilson takes over like 50 sacks. You could see why he's pissed. Russell's a small guy, too. He's really small, compared to a lot of these other guys. And, he knows he's not going to last much longer if he keeps taking those hits, which I think is why, did Russell really say to himself that he's taking so many hits? Because I thought it was his agent that was really saying that.
Yeah, so
did he actually say that himself?
So he came out and said, we need to do better drafting players up front so that I'm not running around and taking too many hits. But then his agent actually expanded it on, and he went and dropped stats about how he's getting hit 396 times or something this year. And he dropped a bunch of stats about it. Russell just said that we need to do a better job I think the direct quote was we need to do a better job bringing in players to keep me protected. But I also need to do better. And then he said, but I also need to do a better job, getting away from some of these tackles and stuff like that.
Yeah, the agent talk's always going to be there. A lot of these headlines from these big media, Rappaport, and Schefter, a lot of it is agent talk. A lot of the agents will feed media outlets a lot of information that could be false or true. They'll just feed them information and they'll report it. So, but it's true with Russell Wilson, and I think he's saying to protect Russell, hey, my guy's getting hit. He's small. People forget Russell Wilson is 5'9", 5'10". And, well, he's probably not 9, that's a little too short, but yeah. I'd say 5'10", 5'11", he's barely 200 pounds, so, it's not a lot of mass on him compared to these 300-pound guys.
No, you're right.
He knows he's not going to last much longer. But I think, with Watson, he has more of a right to call out the organization because the organization doesn't really win. I guess for Wilson, they did win, but I think over recent, they really haven't improved the team that much. I think Wilson's just been keeping them afloat. I got to be honest with you, but
yeah,
he's right. I'm defending Russell Wilson. I think he's right on that scenario.
Okay, so you think that there's actually substance behind this, though? Do you think he truly could see himself out of Seattle, or is this kind of just kind of shooting a little warning at them, if you don't step it up, then we're going to have problems?
Yeah, I think I don't think he's going to request a trade or start nothing like that. I think it's going to be, he's basically telling Schneider, stop effing up all these drafts.
Yeah, which no, and you're right, man. Dude, it's so funny that you said it, and that's why I laugh, because every single year, man, I'm sitting at home and I'm watching the draft, and Seattle's pick comes up, and look, you're just like me. I'm a draft nerd, man. Once the NFL season's over, I study these college players. I do it during, I know everyone that's getting picked in the first couple of rounds, all right? I study this stuff. I love this stuff. Every single year, Seattle picks someone, and I'm like, who the hell is that? Literally, I don't even know the person's name. And they're picking them in the first round every time. This has been 3-4 years in a row they do that stuff, and it makes no sense to me. And it's why Russell Wilson's mad, which I agree. Russell Wilson has every right to be mad, and he early in his year he was a winner. The team was winning. He came onto a perfect situation. Since they paid him, it's been all about him. They can't add more pieces. They haven't been able to add more pieces. And now he's getting frustrated because he sees Tom Brady winning and all this stuff, and he wants to get back to the big game, and he's not able to. And I think that's why he's so pissed about it. But, dude, I don't see anything changing, man. If we fast forward to this time this year, Seattle is going to lose in the wild card round once again. That's just how it is with this team.
Yeah, especially they're not going to have a first-round pick because, the Jamal Adams trade. Let's be honest. Does that Jamal Adams trade really improve their team?
No. I said that right when it happened. No way.
Yeah, no way. And you look at their defensive numbers, they steadily got better. I think their line played a little bit better. It really wasn't even Jamal Adams doing all that. Jamal's a good player, but he's a safety. It's not really an impact position. I've been saying that for a while. Mm-hmm. But, I think it's all, just tough guy talk. And the tough guy talk is usually the agent. The players don't really, they tell the agent what to say, but it's not that they're not going to say it because they don't want to get quoted directly on it. They just want it to be basically news, speculation, just to put a little bit of pressure on the Seattle front office, which is reasonable. Get a lineman in here, get me protected because he does take too many hits, and they've really I mean, they've never brought in a lineman in the first round. I mean, they got that tackle from the Texans like 3 years ago, Brown.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's aging, so they got to refresh that whole line and get some new guys in there.
No doubt, and it will be interesting to see what happens. I get why he's mad, and it's a crazy time in the NFL because we're seeing players step up. We're seeing players say that they're not happy. Aaron Rodgers, another one, he's showing that look, he never said he wants out, but he let them know he's not happy with what they've been doing, and rightfully so. And I think that needs to happen more often. Look, why not put some pressure on these teams? These organizations think that when they get a quarterback, they're good for years and years. No, look what happened with Andrew Luck. They got lazy. Once earlier when the Colts had Luck, they said we got a good quarterback. They never tried to build around the offensive line. They didn't make it better until he got hurt over and over, and then they said, holy crap, we got to change things up. By that point, it was too late. He got hurt too much. He retired. That you got to put some type of pressure on these organizations to let them know you're unhappy and they need to fix it. So I'm with you. I have no problem with what he's doing. I just don't like the way he did it. I think that he went too much at his teammates and more he should have just kept it strictly to the front office. But when you look at these other teams, man, because look, there's a bunch of teams that need a quarterback, okay? They're like... This offseason has more teams needing a quarterback than we've ever seen. So I want to run through some teams with you, and I want you to tell me if you think that the quarterback they have now is going to be their quarterback, or if you see them getting rid of their quarterback and bringing someone in. And I want to start with, since we're talking out west, with the 49ers. What do you think happens with the 49ers this offseason? Pull out a little Emmet Nostradamus here and predict, is Jimmy G going to be their quarterback, or are they bringing someone else in? And if so, who do you think they could bring in?
Well, I think what Kyle wanted to do a few years ago when the Jimmy G trade initially happened was he wanted to get Kirk Cousins because he was with him in Washington and he drafted him. Mm-hmm. And I think, what happened was, when he traded for Jimmy, it was a second-round pick, and they got an extra pick, I think, because of another trade. I forget which, but they got another pick from somehow. And they kind of used Jimmy as, okay, we'll use him as a flyer. We need a quarterback bad, so let's get a guy in here. Let's see what he could do. And I think when it came time to sign Kirk Cousins, Jimmy went on that 6-7 game stretch where he won all those games as a starter. So he's like, hey, I can't really sign Kirk, because it's sort of a disservice to the team if I take this guy who won all these games. So let's just keep him and move on. So I think, now, 3 years later, with Jimmy, the story with Jimmy is he can't stay healthy. I mean, he's skinny. That's just what it is. I mean, Jimmy, the guy looks like the Calvin Klein model. I mean, it's really, that's how he can't really hold up. I mean, that's just what it is. This has been over and over and over. So I don't know if they're going to move on from him this offseason just because they can't get another guy in here to supplant him that fast. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think, the market opens up a little bit to where he can get his guy. And I truly believe his guy is Kirk Cousins. And, the Vikings are holding on to Kirk Cousins. So I think, with the Vikings holding on to him, the 49ers are going to hold on to Jimmy. So I'd say they better look to get another guy in there, but I don't think they will. I think they'll probably just stick it out with Jimmy another year because that's their only option.
Okay, I agree. I think, man, it would be so interesting if they brought in Kirk Cousins because, look, Kirk Cousins, he's always been an type of quarterback, but he goes into that Kyle Shanahan system. That would be very, very interesting to watch there, which I also think Deshaun Watson would be just insane in that.
Play-action quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt. Play-action quarterback all day long, which would be so fun. All right, I want to move to the Colts, man, because I think the Colts are maybe the most intriguing team because they were 1,000% in on the Matthew Stafford sweepstakes. I thought that they were going to be the team. I really thought they were going to be the team that went for him. They didn't get him, and now it's starting to look like they're running out of options, man. And what is Chris Ballard going to do? He's known to have, be a little stingy with his picks. He doesn't like to trade up in the draft to get someone really. Are they going to roll with Jacoby Brissett for a year? Are they going to trade for Carson Wentz? What do you see the Colts doing? Because right now, I don't even think Jacoby Brissett's under contract, or maybe he has one more year left, but what do you see happening with the Colts?
Yeah, I actually watched an interview with Chris the other day because I was really curious to see what his thoughts were about that, and I think he understands himself. His shoes are tied together. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I really don't think he knows what to do. I think he's selling to the team, look, we got a lot of really, just take the quarterback position away. They got a lot of good young players on the team at all the positions, the D-line, the O-line, the linebacker with Leonard. They have some corners now. They're getting back to really rebuilding that team nice. And then they got receivers, too, and Taylor, the running back. It's a nice team they got going there, quarterback aside. So I think Chris, he's sitting there tiling Dan. He really just wishes luck was there, man, because that would have fixed everything.
Oh, my goodness.
They would have been, 3 times in a row in the playoffs. They would have been rolling right now. But you're right about him being stingy with his picks. I don't think he's going to move picks for players. I just don't see Chris doing that. He did that for Buckner, and the only reason he did it with Buckner is because he can pressure Mahomes. I said that before. But for a quarterback, maybe if he gets, if he could do a 1-for-1, but Ballard's not the guy to package 2 picks for a player because in his mind, he thinks, okay, that's 2 players, 2 really good young players that I'm trading for 1 player.
Exactly.
And of course, being the general manager, he's confident in himself that those 2 picks are going to be 2 good young players. So, right now on his roster, obviously they got Brissett. Brissett's a really, really good guy. You could tell. People rave about his personality, and I think those guys in the locker room will play hard for him. But he's got limitations. His anticipation really isn't that good. I don't think he really sees the windows that well. He's a decent athlete. He can run. His arm is okay, but I just don't really think he can really read defense as well. And then Eason, the guy they picked, he was I think he was a 5-star in high school, big-time guy. Late round pick as a flyer. Maybe they try to throw him out there. It's not the ideal option, but that's all you've got. Look, they need a quarterback. There's no doubt about it. They better get looking, but I just don't know what avenue they go down if Chris isn't willing to move any of his picks for players, or he's not willing to go out of his way and spend a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like the whole Celtics Danny Ainge thing. Danny Ainge for the longest time had all of these picks. He got so many picks from the Brooklyn Nets when he made that trade to send off the big 3 once they got older, Kevin Durant and all that, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, and he never did anything with those. It was always, we're going to trade for Anthony Davis, we're going to trade with Kawhi, and he ended up just standing there, and he drafted 2 really good guys in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but he never actually moved those picks, and the Colts don't have a bunch of picks, but they do well with their picks. He drafts good players. Last year he did trade one of his first-round picks, but only one to bring in, who was the defensive lineman out of Buckner, and that was a great move. He had a great season with the Colts. So eventually he's going to have to do something. They don't have a quarterback unless they really think, like you said, Jacoby Brissett's the guy. He's a great guy, but I don't know if he's going to be your franchise guy, which takes me to New England, because I think Jacoby Brissett might actually be in play for the New England Patriots possibly. What is Bill Belichick going to do, man? Because the pressure is now on Bill Belichick. He is looking at Tom Brady. He realized he lost Tom Brady, and now it's going to be a lot of pressure on him to get things going ASAP and turn this team around. Who is going to be starting for the New England Patriots next year?
That is a great question. I can't tell you.
I know.
I don't know. I don't think Bill knows either. There's no 6th-round pick that he can use to get the next Tom Brady. So he's going to be looking for a while. I think if Jimmy G were to ever free up, I think he'd sign him back in a heartbeat. But I just right now on their roster, they're not going to go another year with Cam Newton. I don't think you can do that. Stidham, look, nice passer, you could say, but just a little bit I saw of him, I wasn't really impressed. So I really don't know what New England's going to do. They have they're right outside the top top 10, I believe, in draft picks. They were 7 and 9, so they were going to be picking in the mid-first round.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they trade up, but New England's not a team. They do not want to give up picks either because Belichick's extremely frugal. He wants cheap rookies on cheap deals. He wants the most amount of picks possible. He doesn't want to trade picks at all. So, I mean, but if you're not going to trade up, you're not going to get a quarterback. I mean, unless he's going to pick Mac Jones if he's there at 15, maybe. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the Patriots are going to do, if I got to be honest with you, because Bill's too frugal to move pieces around to go up and be like the Rams and go get, just go out there, hey, we're going to give you 2 firsts for Stafford. Screw it. We're a quarterback away.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots they're not even close to being like that. So,
yeah.
They're going to be without a quarterback until then. That's all I could say.
And it's going to be, because you're spot on, but it's going to be interesting if maybe Belichick changes up that mindset, that thinking process, now that things are different. Now that Tom Brady went down there and won, this season was a wash. It was the opt-out. He's going to get a lot of defensive players back. Look, Stidham is not the guy. I mean, Cam Newton was so bad this year, and they still made sure to play him over Stidham every single game. Like, if Stidham was even remotely good, they would have thrown him out there. Like, I just don't even think Stidham's close to being the guy on for them. So it's going to come down to, what are they going to do? Maybe they will throw a little bit more in a trade to get Jimmy G back. Belichick would never do something like that. But does he kind of change up his ways to find that quarterback? I could totally see them going for Mac Jones if he fell to them, but I don't see him trading up like you said. So those are all very interesting things to me. We'll have to wait and see. Overall, we got a couple minutes left here. I want to, everyone knows Emmet, huge Cowboys fan. He is our resident Cowboys fan on the show. Look, man, you've been telling me for a year now, and we've been talking about this for a year and a half now. Dak Prescott, he's going to eventually get signed. When's it going to happen? That's the question, not is it going to happen. And I get it. If I had to put money on it, I would say Dak Prescott will be a Cowboy for the next 10 plus years. But eventually we are going to get to a point where if a deal does not happen and he is on a franchise tag again, where we have to really say, okay, holy crap, if he plays this year under a franchise tag, he legit might be gone. And I hear all this, oh, Jerry will never let him walk. Well, Jerry, why the hell haven't you signed him yet then? So, and then they come out and they do this whole stupid thing where they don't put him in a mixtape about the upcoming season and all that stuff. Where are your thoughts on this, man? Like, what are your thoughts about everything going on with this Dak Cowboys situation again? And are you still 1,000% confident that Dak is going to be the quarterback for the next 10 years?
Well, just briefly on the video you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that was honestly, that was just a media mistake. It's not like Jerry made the video. Like,
no, of course not. Of course not. But you would think that they would. So there was a media it was clearly a mistake. I mean, you would think there would be a media manager that would watch this and 2 minutes into it say, where's number 4? Like, that's probably what didn't happen. They were not smart enough, or they just kind of had a mental lapse and they didn't see it. But my goodness, like, how do you not make a when I think Cowboys, I think Dak. Like, when everyone thinks Cowboys, you think Dak right now. It's just so shocking to me that they didn't put him in there,
Yeah, either it was just a mental mistake, or the 1% chance that they could have been intentional. That not intentional that he's not coming back. That's a sign. It's intentional to just create drama,
bargain,
create news, create media.
Yeah.
That's all the Cowboys want to do. They want to be on top of the media. They want to be number one. They want to. I mean, they're the most valuable sports franchise. Because we're still talking about them when they were 6-10 last year, didn't do crap.
Yep.
We're still talking about them because that's just what it is. That's how they keep their team on top of the media. But look, I mean, with Dak, I mean, you got to respect the hell out of him. He should be doing. I really think Dak should be doing the same thing Deshaun's doing.
For sure.
He has every right to.
For sure.
I mean, it's not like Jerry's got some big Super Bowl track record the past 25 years. But you could absolutely go at him. He's proved absolutely everything you need on and off the field. Off the field, there's not a better, and I mean better quarterback Monday through Saturday than probably, Tom Brady I'll give you, but I mean, just a quarterback Monday through Saturday that handles himself in the classroom, that handles himself in the community, that handles himself with his teammates, that has the respect with his coaches, and gets the guys to buy in. There's not a better person than Dak Prescott, and I'll put my word to that, which is why I want them to sign him. I mean, I'm getting sick and tired of it myself. I don't even want to. I'm sick and tired of just talking about it.
It's a joke.
It's annoying as hell. But yes, I don't think as cringeworthy as it is for me to say, I still do think they're going to sign him. I still do think he's going to be the quarterback. And heck, if he don't, then that's my fandom right there. But,
yeah, no, I'll tell you this, man. I'll tell you, because if week 1 comes around and he's on a franchise tag, he's not coming back. I mean, you do not play 2 seasons. Like, the deal has to get done before week 1, because you don't play 2 seasons on a franchise tag, then he's open. He's free to the market. And for sure as hell a team is going to offer him more money than he's asking for right now if he gets on the market. So
that's why it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
We've had, Big Ben, Matty Ice, they're getting paid $40 million next year, yet we're debating that with Dak.
Yeah. And supposedly it's over a year. Like, this is where I have a serious problem with Jerry Jones, man, because
that can't be true.
all we hear about Jerry Jones is, man, this guy will pay any type of money to win. This guy, he will write a blank check to win a Super Bowl. He will never let a player walk over money. And now for 2 years, we've been talking about money with Jerry Jones. Like, it is a huge indictment if he does not sign this quarterback, man. And to Dak Prescott, I am so glad Dak is being firm on this. I am so happy that he isn't giving in to Jerry's little ways, man, because Dak's agent and Dak should sit there and say, did you just see your team once I went down? Like, did you guys see how bad of a football team you guys were once I got hurt? So if you think I'm coming down on any amount of dollars for you, that's laughable, bro. You guys were pathetic without me. I was burning the league up in passing yards and touchdowns before I got hurt, and then I went down and everything went to hell. Like, don't even think I'm budging on it. And I'm so happy Dak's not budging because he is doing the right thing. And you're right, man. He really should take it a step farther and do the Deshaun Watson thing. But he's not. And because he's not is why Jerry Jones needs to sign him ASAP.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're quarterback, I mean, it's rare to have a quarterback be the face of your franchise. I don't think a lot of people understand that. I mean, we talk about the Rodgers, the Mahomes, the this and that. But, I mean, there's only about, 6 to 7 teams in the league, period, that the quarterback is truly the face of the franchise. And you have that in Dallas. And then not only that, you have a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great guy, man. Like, the dude does everything you want. He shows up at 6 in the morning. He leaves at 11 at night. I mean, what else do you want from this dude? It's really annoying at this point that you can't even accept the fact that this guy's going to lay it all out on the line for you. And the fact that he'll deal with your antics as well. He's not even going to feed into none of the media shit. He's not going to go on Twitter and complain and start tweeting song lyrics and stuff like that. I mean, he's just going to take it like a man and say, hey, whatever, I'll get my dough whenever. But I understand, man, it's ridiculous. But I think they're going to cave at some point. I think it's only a matter of when that time would be. I mean, look, they're going to tag him. There's no doubt they're going to tag him. They're going to tag him to buy themselves time because that's what the Cowboys do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably going to let it roll out to probably the summertime. And that's probably right around training camp when that's going to start. They're probably going to say, hey, we're going to have to get a deal done right now. If it's not deal by then, I mean, that's ridiculous. But I mean, if it does roll out to then, which we can obviously see it. I mean, it's been rolling out for 2 years now already. So by then, I think Dak's going to have to probably consider holding out, and and that would just kill Dak to do, because I know, man, he wants to be out there with those guys. He wants to go win, and you see it on social media. I mean, Dak, he's vocal about being back with the team, even though they're putting all this crap against him. I mean, you saw the comment about when the ESPN posted that the Cowboys haven't won the Super Bowl in 25 years.
Said, hold me Dak.
I mean, Dak said, hold my beer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically, or he didn't say.
He said, hold my crutches.
Or that's what it was, hold my crutches. But, I mean, that's basically what it's saying. He's saying, hold my beer watch what I do. I want to go win. That's basically his pledge. I want to win for this team and this team only because I know what it means. So, I mean, how do you not respect a guy like that if you're Jerry? But, I mean, his firm stance is making him look like the good guy.
Oh, for sure.
And look like the bad guy.
No,
I think okay.
No doubt.
That's fine by me.
Yeah, no doubt. There are some things where you can easily say where is the right situation, where is the wrong situation, and this is all Dak, which is why everyone is sitting here saying, dude, Dak, if you want to hold out, hold the hell out. If you want to cause a stir, which, like you said, he's not going to. He's just not that guy. But what he will do, dude, is if it doesn't happen, he is going to quietly play on the franchise tag. He is not going to complain about it. He is going to go and ball out, and then he is going to walk away and go and get a $400 million contract just like Mahomes did with some random team out there. And that is exactly what will happen if Jerry Jones does not sign him. And he's going to do it in the best, polished, polite way possible because that's who Dak is. And honestly, man, it's so annoying to me. Like, I'm so tired of this conversation too. And it's like, I never thought we would get to this point, ever. I never thought we'd get to this point. I thought by now we would sign him. And it's just a huge indictment on the Cowboys organization as a whole that they haven't. But if they do, they still can make it right. It still hasn't gotten too ugly or anything. They can make it right. Just do it, Jerry. That's it. Just do it and it's over.
You got to be an asshole to get your money in Dallas. That's why Zeke went to Capo. He held out. I'm here. I'm not coming back.
But I don't get that. Like, why?
Because they're cheap, bro. I mean, did you see also? I don't know if you saw this picture. Did you see the picture of Jerry Jones at the gas station with the wine?
No, I didn't see that.
I'll send it to you. But it sums it up perfectly. I mean, they're cheap.
Yo, he was buying wine at the gas station?
At the gas, yeah. Really a Chiefs fan pictured. He's like, hey, I met Jerry at a gas station. He told me that he felt bad for Mahomes, and it was him with the bottle of wine. I'll send it to you after we get off.
Yeah, that's hilarious, bro.
And then, obviously, the Cowboys are cheap, bro. It is what it is.
Yeah.
They talk about having all this money, but they don't want to share it. And
that's crazy.
A lot of it is, they're going to blame it on the cap, which is fine. There is a salary cap. If there was no salary cap, then the Cowboys would be, in my opinion, the Cowboys would be the best team in the league if there's no salary cap. But that's the reason you have a salary cap. It's just so you can't go spend it freely. But, don't play around with your quarterback. That's not, you have a quarterback, bro.
Yeah.
You can play around with Zeke. You can play around with all these other guys. Don't play around with your franchise quarterback. And let's be honest, and I'll say this, man. If the Cowboys, if they didn't get lucky to coach that Senior Bowl that year and spot Dak in that Senior Bowl,
yep,
and basically keep him as the best kept secret and not tell anybody what they had with him, and pick him in the 4th round, if they didn't have him, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
What would this team be?
Oh, they would be right now deciding if they're taking Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, or that's what they would be doing. They would be picking 1 or 2 or 3 overall.
Yeah, they'd be the Jets. Let's not play around, man.
You're right. Because, look, man, you're spot on, man. There's some teams that are picking in the top 10 to 15 that are sitting there saying, where the hell are we going to go? The Cowboys are different. They're sitting there saying, our quarterback was injured. What the hell is going to happen with our defense? But at least we know we have a quarterback coming back. They're not looking for a quarterback unless they can't get their shit together and sign him. So I completely agree. We're on the same side. And hopefully, man, as we talk throughout the offseason, this will be a conversation that we will get to stop talking about, because I'm with you, man. If you guys don't sign him, Cowboys fans should riot. They should march on down, just like Houston fans should march on down to their organization if they get rid of Deshaun Watson, because you just do not get rid of guys like that. You just don't. In the NFL, it's the old saying, if you get rid of a guy like that, you're not going to get another one for the next decade plus.
And if he was really like a mediocre player, then you could really debate it. But bro, when the fact that he was literally going to pass for 7,000 yards if he played all 16 games this year, come on. What is there debate? It's not like offense has been the problem in Dallas.
Yeah.
So it's just don't play around, man. That's all I got to say. And you're right. That'll be it for me if they let Dak walk, because that's all you need to know about this organization. And I've already said I've already bashed them enough to where I don't even want to go on about it anymore. It's just so annoying to talk about.
No doubt.
But I mean, that would be a knife in the back.
Yeah, that's just a string that you don't cross. There's no doubt about that. Awesome, man. Well, what a show. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. We appreciate you guys all tuning in. Emmet, we appreciate you coming on. We will be doing this a bunch throughout the off season. We'll have a whole draft show. Emmet, I was thinking about it, man. We should, and we'll talk about this as we get closer, we should do a live show during the draft, like where we react to it. Because I love the draft, man. I love the draft so much where we'll put some cameras up, man, and we'll literally react to it pick by pick as we go and have a little fun with it. That's something we'll talk about as we get closer. We'll do mini free agent shows, all that stuff, but thank you for listening. This is the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'd like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show, write a nice review. It really helps us out. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you. Have a great week.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.